Welcome into another episode of This is Whirlie Nation. I'm your host, Chase Williams, here with the head coach of the Grimsley Whirlies, Coach Corbett. The Grimsley Whirlies currently sit at 9-3, 3-0 in Metro 4A play. We'll get to all of that. A little bit of a funky week. Originally, the Whirlies should be wrapping up a game right about now against Western Guilford, but due to some weather that got pushed back to tomorrow, it's going to be a Wednesday tip-off. Mike Fanning will have it for you on the Tobacco Road Sports Network. But, Coach, let's start off here. How are you doing today? How has the weather and kind of the changes of this week changed things up for the program?
I thought we had a really solid practice yesterday and the kids were ready to, get on the court tonight. But, unfortunately, weather plays a role in in the basketball season quite a few times. So, we've seen this situation happen before. So it's just a matter of us adjusting. So, we'll be ready tomorrow night. I think the kids were focused in practice yesterday. So, it's just unfortunate. We just hope everybody is okay with the weather and there's no one that was seriously hurt or injured. So hopefully everybody will be back in school tomorrow and we'll just get ready to play Western Guilford tomorrow night.
Does it change preparations at all for the Western Guilford game, or even maybe Friday? Now you only have one day off instead of two before the game at Page on Friday night.
Yeah, I think it affects the game on Friday a little bit more than it does the game tomorrow night. We did have a chance to watch film on Western on Monday, and walk through some of the things that they do on the floor, and we try to make our adjustments to what we'll expect from them. But tomorrow we'll watch film again. I have all of my players in my homeroom, so I'll be able to watch film with them, and then we'll just get out there on the floor, see what we can do. It's one of those things where everybody's in the same situation. We're not allowed to practice. We're not allowed to get together. So, we'll just wait until tomorrow, reconvene, and hopefully we can get out there tomorrow night and play effectively.
And we'll touch more on tomorrow night and the rest of this week momentarily. But let's go back to last Friday. First true road game of the season at Ragsdale. It's a 68-40 victory. Walk me through that game and your reaction to it a little bit.
I was pleased with how we responded in the second half. It was one of the things where we talked last week, playing on the road for the first time. We weren't really sure what to expect, and I think in that first half we came out just a little bit sluggish against Ragsdale, and they had something to do with that as well. I thought their kids played really hard in the first quarter, and once we made a couple of adjustments defensively, we were able to settle in. And then in that second half, especially in the third quarter, I think we went on I think it was a 28-2 run that we went on over the course of over the third and the fourth quarters to sort of put that game away. But we had great performances from Richard Goods and Nick Keith. I thought played really, really well. Still wanted to be a little bit more aggressive with the basketball, but yeah, I thought we did a really good job, and we got great performances. Caden Cato gave us a great lift off the bench, bringing us energy. Faison Brandon. So we were pleased with the effort that our guys gave, and especially how we responded in the second half.
Yeah, you bring up that 28-2 run, which is something I had circled a little bit. I mean, the word I had as I circled it was just insanity. I mean, that is truthfully a picture perfect run. What fed into, and it's not the first time your team's had a run like that this year. There have been other games that you've seen very similar runs, whether it's been, 15-1, 20-3 runs, stuff like that. What's fed into those runs this year?
Just defensive energy and focusing. Once we try to tell our kids in practice all the time to try to create offense from our defense. Reward yourselves for getting turnovers, get out on the break and score. And so when we were able to get some turnovers from Ragsdale, and then we were able to convert in the full court, we didn't want to give them a chance to set their defense up. We wanted to get down the floor and try to score quickly. So, I think when we get out there and we're pressuring and we're making sure we're closing out on shooters, rebounding really well, I think that we're at our best at that point. And then when we had Richard had 23 rebounds. That's when you got one kid who can get 23 rebounds. I think we had 47 as a team. But just incredible when we can control the boards like that. But that leads to points on the other end of the floor.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about those points. Richard Goods led the team with 29. He also had those 23 rebounds that you mentioned. But after that, it was Nick, I believe, with 9. Then you have a few players with 8, 7, really consistent scoring all throughout the box score. How helpful is that? We've talked a little bit about how it felt like it's been a 1-2 punch, and that second punch has been a little bit different. Well, on Friday night, the second punch was the whole team.
Yeah, I thought we played really unselfish basketball. I really, really did. I think we ended up with 19 assists in that game, but everyone was making the extra pass. We weren't getting into the lane, unsure of what we wanted to do with the basketball. So I really, really was happy with how we were able to play and sharing the basketball. So that's something we talk about in practice all the time. We talk about going from good to great, and if we're going to do those things, we have to be able to continue to share the ball and play together as a team in order to achieve the success level that we want. So I was pleased with how we played.
And you bring up those 19 assists. I noticed that as well as 6 out of 11 players with 50+% shooting from the field, including, I think most of them all were in double digits
Mhm.
minutes wise. How much did those two correlate? You mentioned you were getting good looks and unselfish ball. It kind of felt like a picture perfect offensive support system on Friday nights.
Yeah, I thought it was. You mentioned the minutes played, and we had probably like 9 or 10 guys, or 9 guys I know of that played double-digit minutes, and that's what we try to kind of shoot for. We have an 8 or 9 man rotation that we're running this year, so to get that type of balance with who's playing on the floor, and then to get the same type of balance as far as the effort is concerned, we were excited about the things that our kids show. I think we're starting to gel, but time will tell. We've got a pretty rough stretch coming up, so we've got to make sure that we just continue to focus and play, and try to get ourselves better with each game.
Absolutely. You mentioned that rough stretch. We'll talk a little bit about that in upcoming weeks for sure, especially a tough road stretch with that being said. But before you hit the road, we mentioned it. It's Western Guilford again. That's tomorrow night, Wednesday night. That is. Western, on the other hand, is a team that's still scrapping for their first victory of the year. And that's no disrespect to them, but does that make it almost a different type of threat? Because you kind of know, like, they're going to do anything to get that first victory. So is there another kind of worry level with that? On the other hand, of course, there's always the circling of a big game, but you also don't want to be that team to lose to the winless team of the year.
Well, we treat Western just like we treat any of our opponents. Everyone is the same. We focused on that the last, yesterday in practice. We were, focused on just trying to come out and get the win. We looked at the film, and we know that they have good players. We know that Coach Finney's going to have them ready to play. So it's going to take another effort where, regardless, we have to know that people are going to try to come for us hard because we are Grimsley. And a win against Grimsley now means a lot more than it did maybe 8 or 10 years ago. So people know that if they can beat us, then that's a game that they can look forward to and try to build some confidence within their program. So we don't want to be that team, as you mentioned. So we're going to try to do everything we can tomorrow night to try to make sure that doesn't happen. But we know Western's going to be ready. They have solid players in their program. They mix up their defenses extremely well, for whether it's the 1-2-2 or the 2-3 or the man or the zone presses that they run. So they do a good job. They will be ready to play. So it's our job to make sure our kids are ready to play as well.
And before we take a look past Western into later in the week at Page as well, I do want to touch on the junior varsity squad. They've had a fantastic year so far. You're going to see guys that's the future of the Whirlies. So I want to give you a moment to go ahead and highlight that squad and what's really impressed you about the JV squad and what is the future of Grimsley basketball.
I think our JV squad has done an excellent job this year, and all credit of that goes to Coach Chris Waddellington. He's at he works with the kids every day. He's extremely patient with them. And they've got some talent. They've got a lot of talent this year. They've got some guards who can get out on the break and score. You've got kid George Neal, who's really good at the point for them. You've got Sherman Winston, who played a lot with us this summer on the wing, who's doing a good job for them as well. And then they've got Sherrod White and Jay Springs. So they have some really good talent, and especially the good freshman talent as well. They've got a couple big guys inside. Gavin Milton is really good, and they're getting developed. They're getting help with their post moves, and so we love our JV team. Right now they're undefeated and they're playing really, really well together. So I'm excited about what Coach Chris is doing with our program, and the kids love to play for him. So we're excited that he's a part of us, and he brings a lot to the table for us. So we're excited about Chris and everything that he does.
And also, let's take a moment to look ahead to the end of the week, since we won't touch base after the Western game until after the Page game. How you mentioned it's a little bit different. It affects the Page setup more than it affects Western setup for tomorrow, as a lot of the prep had already been done, and now there's just a little bit more of a break. But how do you change things and tweak things for Page on Friday now that you really only have one day between games instead of two? Is it going to be a lighter practice? What's going to be different now?
I don't think it'll be a lighter practice. I think our kids like to go against each other hard every day. We've got a sign in our locker room says you can't go out and practice soft and then expect to play hard. So they come at each other. We put them in competitive situations in practice. So we're not going to change that up. We'll still watch film on Page. We've already seen our game with them in the Hayco. And so we'll probably watch a little bit more of that and maybe one of their last games that they played as well. But our preparation is not going to change. We're going to come out there and we're going to, do everything we can to try to change some of the things that we did not do against them in the first game. So, it's one of the things where, again, everybody's in the same situation. Instead of usually having 2 days to prepare for your Friday game, you'll have one. So, we'll treat it as we do with any other game. We'll just try to come out and take everything that we can, put in that 1 day of preparation and try to get ready for Friday.
And finally, you bring up that Hayco tournament loss, 67-58, a competitive game. Didn't mark against that conference record since it was inside that Hayco tournament. But what was there to learn from that game that maybe you can implement a little bit against the rivals on Friday nights?
Well, I think that we just got to make sure that we come out and play hard early. That was the biggest difference from when we played Page against in the first game. We didn't come out with the right energy level, and they came out and they really took it to us in that first quarter. I think it was like 22-10. We were down after the first. We settled in, but we can't dig a hole like that, especially against a good team. So, we're just gonna have to make sure that we come out and have a little bit more fire to start the game, but we'll be prepared and we'll definitely be organized. But when you play against good teams every night, you got to show up because, like I said, everybody's going to show up against us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach.
Thank you.
And, again, Grimsley at home tomorrow night against Western Guilford. That one you can hear on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Mike Fanning will be on the call. And then Friday, a rivalry match at Page. That's the setup for this week. The Whirlies currently 9-3, 3-0 in conference play, trying to expand on that winning record. You've been listening to This is Whirlie Nation with Coach Corbett of the Grimsley Whirlies.